Greetings, and welcome to the Nexus. Today we're entering the world of Demon Eater, written and illustrated by Jilly Foo, published in 2006. On a cannibalistic planet where the inhabitants' only food is each other, Saturno was on a losing streak in the survival of the fittest, until he discovers the world of humans and the creatures who want to become them. So there's a world that's just like Earth, but we don't care about that one. Right next to that world is the world of Demon Eater. So right off the bat, a little bit of content warning. This story does contain content for mature readers. Like there's, a lot of violence, and then occasional nudity. Although the story's called Demon Eater, the creatures from this world don't really fall into the usual demon conventions. They're more creatures that have their own anatomy and functionality. In this world, creatures exist in a cycle of hunger and fear. They're born very small. As they eat, they grow in size, and they can even decide on how they grow, as in like what features they have as they're growing, which is an important ability because everything is edible, and also everything in this world is trying to eat you, and there's an entire ecosystem within this world. The main character's name is Saturno, and he's growing up, and he's trying not to be eaten. He thinks it would be a real big bummer. But throughout the story, he goes through several forms. His goal is to become so big that no one can eat him. He's not particularly strong, but he is smarter than most other demons we come across. So that's kind of how the story goes for a while. Saturno scheming, surviving, and adapting until he comes across some very unique demons. There's a group of very powerful demons, but they compress their mass to maintain a human-ish appearance. Why humans, you ask? Well, that's because they're part of the human club. The goal of the club is to collect particular creatures that have human-ish characteristics and teach them to be more human so that they can one day venture off into the human world. Without causing terrible mayhem and destruction, they don't take well to monsters entering from gates. The entire group is led by Alpha, who's a half-demon, half-human hybrid, who's also trying to figure out a couple things. The concept of empathy and sympathy are very important in this story, and it asks interesting questions. Like, in a dog-eat-dog world, what does it mean to be merciful? And it's the interactions and framing of the world and characters within it that make it so interesting. The tone of the story is very dark and tense. The hand-painted art style also makes things feel a little bit more bloody and sticky. All the members of the Human Club are very interesting and terrifying in their own way. They've all focused on different aspects of humanity, and it's interesting to see how an outside observer interpret what the readers find common. What sets the story apart is although it sounds like a fantasy, it feels much more like a slice of life. So much so, I almost made a slice of life in the card game. But the world building and how grounded things feel, specifically the system of eating, was so interesting and such a key part of the story that I decided to make it a fantasy. My favorite part of the story is just how interesting eating is. For example, there are two ways for creatures to eat each other. They're either alive or dead when you start eating them. If they're dead, you just gain their mass, you become that much bigger, which is fine, but you better do it quick because there are things looking for food. But if they're alive when you eat them, which is rude, you'll gain their consciousness. So you'll share your mind with the creature that you ate. So there are some places in this world where demons who haven't been as concerned with meal prep, I guess is a nice way to say it, their mind's just a confused mess so that all they can really focus on is eating and being afraid. The main character and the members of the Human Club, they go out of their way to make sure that they stay themselves. So let's put little things together that make it so fascinating. You can read the comic yourself by following the link in the description. This comic is also featured in the card game Scattered Nexus, linked in the description as well. Remember to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and I'll see you in the next world.